Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI podcast episode, I talk with Sarah Olin about supporting women to stay in the workforce and the idea of trickle-down Mom-onomics. Sarah Olin, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have a nice conversation with you today. We're going to be exploring how we can better support women to stay in the workforce, generally speaking, but also specifically and particularly when taking maternity leave. And that so often disrupts women's careers and their progression into leadership roles and such. And so we're going to talk about your organization, Lumo, and what you do to help women stay in the workforce, and this idea that you've coined as trickle-down Mom-onomics, and what that really means and how we can better be supportive as organizational leaders of women, and as husbands and wives and partners, how we can support each other as we're trying to give everyone an equal opportunity to take on leadership roles and progress in their careers. And as we get started, I wanted to share Sarah's bio with everybody. Sarah Olin is the founder and CEO of Luma, whose mission is to support expectant mothers through pregnancy, maternity leave, and their return to work. Professionally trained by world-renowned leaders like Dr. Brene Brown and Mark Hunter, Sarah has over 10,000 hours of coaching and facilitation experience, is credentialed by the International Coaching Federation and certified by Accomplishment Coaching. Sarah's professional competence and dedication to her craft has opened doors for her to coach women leaders at the United Nations, Verizon, the National Basketball Association, Google, Duke Energy, Calvin Klein, Bloomberg, and to participate as a key speaker at Amazon's first ever International Working Moms Day. Regardless of the stage or space, Sarah pours love and humor into her work, helping women be happy and fully expressed, as well as living their lives of purpose. Thank you so much for joining me. Anything else you would like to share with listeners by way of your background or personal context before we dive on in?
You know, it's funny, even though I work with so many women, I also work with men and find a lot of men. I've worked with a lot of professional athletes and head coaches for various sports organizations. So it's funny that someone who has declared herself a leader for mothers and women also, we attract who we attract. That's just how it is.
Yeah, interesting. And yeah, it is interesting to look at your client list and some of the organizations you work with. And the point is we need this work in every sort of organization across the workforce. And it really is a huge gap. When we talk about pay inequities, when we talk about gender disparities in leadership and all of those sorts of things, really what's at the crux of a lot of that, there's a lot of reasons for it, I suppose, but what's at the crux of it for a lot of people is what happens when people go on leave. Paid leave, oftentimes, everyone would say, yeah, maternity leave, paternity leave, this is important. Go be with your children, take time for your family. And while we say those things, it does actually take a toll on people's ability to progress in an organization, to move up in their career, to take on leadership opportunities. And those are all unfortunate outcomes that may not be the intent of anybody, but it certainly is it's the way the system is built, and we disadvantage those who take maternity and paternity leave. So maybe we can start with you dissecting that for us a little bit, pull that apart and help us understand what the issues are there, and then we can start to get more into what we can actually do to support women to stay in the workforce.
Yeah, so there's a few different things, John, in that. One is that there's a gap in management and leadership around how to support people who are going out on leave. So I have a colleague that calls it the manager lottery, right? If you win as a woman and a mother, woo! And if you don't, you're left in the dark, right? So you've got all these fears, you have all these unknowns, right? And if you don't have a strong manager or leader to say, hey, I've got your back, let's navigate this together, here's because lots of companies offer things, but people don't understand them. No one takes the time to really say it's X, Y, and Z. This is how you access this program. This is how you win. And Lumo was created to actually give women the tools to succeed. There's so much lip service, like you can have it all, you can do everything, but we're not actually given what we need to have that experience. And for many years, I ran a program in my own private coaching practice that was a 10-month long coaching program. And it took women from, hey, I'm pregnant, to I'm back at the office and ready to go. Less mom guilt, less shame, less disappointment, feeling emotionally, psychologically supported, all the things. So before, during, and after mat leave. And what I've done with my team is create this 10-month coaching experience and turn it into an online program to support mothers in the workplace, because it's a leadership conversation. It's a personal development conversation. And so often women are left to navigate it by themselves, right? Even when we were in early stages of the program and beta testing, there were two really high level women in real estate development, and they were both pregnant and afraid to share, because they were concerned that their male colleagues would, win these deals because, and so they're trying not to show that they're pregnant, until the last minute. So it's just, we think we've come so far, and in certain ways we have, but the numbers don't lie, right? 43% of women off ramp at some point in their career because of family needs. 43%. That is extraordinary.
Yeah, it's really disheartening. We have made progress, and more organizations have more established, well-defined maternity and increasingly paternity leave policies and different programs to support their people. All of that's wonderful. The needle has moved there quite a bit. The problem is, to your point, that most employees don't actually know what's really available. They don't really understand how to utilize it. And even if and when they do, so let's say the company is progressive enough to have some of these policies in place, these programs in place, they're really good at communicating it and helping people know how to utilize it. The reality is, in most organizations, people are then still either implicit, sometimes explicitly, but certainly implicitly discouraged from utilizing those programs. And you just look around and you're like, okay, well, I saw, I know this is an option for me, but I just saw Susan, last year, who took maternity leave, and I saw what happened, when she tried to come back, and I don't want that to happen to me. And so some of it's just the observation that I look around and I see what's happening to other people. Some of it is, the things that are said, even casually, in those implicit things that are just kind of baked into the culture of the company, that discourage people from taking advantage of the programs. And that is a very real problem that we still have a long, long way to go to address. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how many wonderful programs we have. It doesn't matter how many great policies we have. If we don't see it as a real safe option for us, then you have these behaviors like hiding that you're even pregnant at all, or feeling like you literally can only, take a few days off and then you're back in the office, and those sorts of things. And that's again, a problem for individuals, for their families, and for the organizations.
True. And, we're dealing with the most extraordinary workforce right now, multi-generational, uh, and our millennial employees are not willing to tolerate the things that my generation, Gen X, was willing to tolerate, the workaholism, the inhumane hours. They're a no. And I talk to DEI professionals, HR, every day. These are the conversations that I'm in, and it is abysmal, and they are suffering because there's always attrition, right? That's a normal piece, but they cannot attract new talent because there's many reasons for the labor shortage, but we're certainly seeing it with women and millennials for sure.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Women tend to disproportionately take on the home tasks, child care, elder care, all these sorts of things. Now, that's not a sweeping statement that that's the case for every family, every home, but
Right.
on average, it's
On
clear
average, that's
from
right.
it's clear from the data that that's the case, right? And we know that, for example, the pandemic disproportionately hit women hard in terms of leaving the workforce because children are at home doing school, and so a mom was more likely to stay home with the kids and leave work than, say, a partner. And those types of situations, it is what it is. Like, that's the reality that we're dealing with. And so then part of all of this conversation is everything that has been happening over the past 18, 19 plus months around virtual work, hybrid work, flexible work schedules. What kinds of accommodations do we put in place for our people so that they can continue to contribute and take care of family needs? And your point about this generational divide, this generational shift, is really, really important, because you're right. The younger generations, they're simply voting with their feet, and they're not putting up with it. They're not putting up with bad bosses. They're not putting up with inequitable organizations and systems. They have options. They know they have options, and they're going to exercise their right to choose, be very selective about where they want to go in terms of their employment. And in many cases, they simply don't even want to work for an organization. They go the gig route, and they are part of the contingent workforce. While that's wonderful, empowering for young people to take ownership over their careers that way, and more organizations are learning how to leverage the gig economy and contract and contingent workers. The fact still remains that for those who want a more traditional career, a more traditional work life kind of experience, that there's within a corporate setting, that they're still having to struggle with that. And if the pandemic has shown us anything, I think it's really shown a light on the inequalities and inequities throughout our economy, throughout the labor economy. And it really has pushed us to challenge this notion that we need people there 8 to 5 in the office, or putting in these super long hours. Like, why can't we allow, say, a mother who's juggling childcare and career, a more flexible schedule? Certain jobs, I get it, like, you need to be there, but so many of the types of jobs that we're talking about, there literally is no reason for us to put on those sorts of constraints, to whether we're talking about men, women, whatever. There's no reason to not be more flexible.
I'm excited to announce the publication of my new book from HCI Press, Bluer Than Indigo Leadership: The Journey of Becoming a Truly Remarkable Leader. Early in my adult life, I learned about an Asian proverb that translates as bluer than indigo. If you think about the color indigo, it is a brilliant, deep, and vibrant blue, what some would call the bluest of blues. To have something that is bluer than indigo is rare and truly remarkable. Contrary to popular myth, There is no one-size-fits-all or cookie-cutter approach to effective leadership. There's no silver bullet, no secret sauce, no go-to model that will solve all of our problems. The truth is, great leaders have all had their unique strengths and flaws, and have all had to discover and then pave their own distinctive path in their life's journey to fulfill their leadership potential. Bluer Than Indigo Leadership will help you discover your own path and explore those ordinary, everyday actions that will help you respond to an uncertain future and produce extraordinary results for individuals, teams, and organizations.
You know, Brene Brown talks about one of these undercover shame-based behaviors being nostalgia. And I think of it, you know, she talks about it as the good old days, but I think about it through the lens of attachment to how it used to be. And, you know, the old guard and the old ways of doing business, right? Like, if I don't see you, you're not working, that sort of like very old way of thinking. And I think the pandemic proved that it's absolutely false. You know, I have a lot of clients in big law and in big banking, and in big law, they were afraid, you know, it's all going to fall apart. They made more money than ever. Same with the banks. So it only grew their business, right? Now there are other industries that have certainly really suffered, but I know for certain there's some big conversations happening right now in Charlotte around, you know, these big organizations saying you have to get back to the office, and people saying no, we don't want to, we won't do it. So there's a reckoning that's in process right now. And yeah, what are they calling it? The Great Resignation. Yeah. So it's really tough for people.
Yeah, and I have to admit, it kind of boggles my mind. I get the nostalgia, I get the more conservative notion of like, let's get back to work in the more traditional sense. I get those feelings. I get why people are espousing them. Yet we've proven over the last 18 plus months that it's certainly very possible for us to lean into a virtual or hybrid work environment and be very effective and successful. And in many cases, productivity shoots up, right? When we allow for that.
But John, what happens to these old school leaders if we say, you know, this new way works, right? The biggest fear in any organization and for any employer is the fear of irrelevance, right? So if that contributes to they're going to fight it to it's all fear-based conversations. So I have compassion for it, and it doesn't change the fact that it absolutely needs to change in order for the world is changing every day. Their clients are changing, the work, you know, the way that people work is changing, and either we adapt or suffer.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else I wanted to touch on, and I know we've kind of already been discussing this, but there's this idea of trickle down Mom-onomics that you like to discuss as a part of the Lumo organization and your work. Describe that a little bit for us, and then we can start to tie that back into what we've been discussing.
Sure. So we assert that in motherhood is the only place where trickle down economics actually works. Because if mom is sourced, everyone around her does better. Mom is a generous, giving being, an entity. So when there's a lot going into mom at the top of the family, everyone wins. So this is our theory of trickle down Mom-onomics. It works for employers to have their women and mothers well resourced. It works in the family structure, works in communities. It's fabulous. But oftentimes the gap is the trouble that they're working from a nearly dry well. So you get what you get.
Yeah. So how do we fill that well? How do we support and put resources towards working moms, so that they feel like they have what they need in order to be supportive of, in the ways that they're so wonderful at being supportive in.
I think it's so much simpler than people think it is. I think people get intimidated. It's going to be so much money. It's going to be, we can't do it. Then it's going to be crazy people in the streets and, there'll be a revolution, Hunger Games. No, I think it's very simple. We're doing this program for a company in Seattle, our parent caregiver support network. And we present topics, we lead conversations, and these parents show up and get so much from hearing each other. It's about connection and community, but finding out, what do people need? And usually it's love, support, reassurance. It's easy stuff, right? But we've got to be willing. We've got to trust our people. We have to invest in our people. And this is the thing that I think young companies, tech companies, really savvy startups. I've worked with so many startups because they know that their people are their most valuable resource. They're willing to put their money where their mouth is and not just say, we care about our people at the expense of our people, right?
Yeah.
Where they're right. So it's, I talk to these young founders and they are putting their money where their mouth is. And that is so important.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in the power of language and the power of narrative, and those things are important as a starting point.
Right.
You do need to be able to say things that create an environment where people feel like they can start to move forward into those spaces. So having a good narrative and having being thoughtful about the language you use, that's very important. But ultimately, if it's not embedded and baked into the systems, the policies, practices, procedures of the organization, and ultimately the culture of the organization, then it's not actually going to mean much of anything to the people in the organization. And so I can say all day long, with the best of real intent in my heart, that I want to be supportive and helpful, and I want to give women equal opportunity and all those sorts of things. I can mean it from the deepest depths of my heart, but if I'm not actually, putting it into practice, then it's not going to mean much of anything. It's not going to do anything or shift it's not going to move the needle in terms of these types of gaps that we've been talking about.
Right. Something about the road to hell is paved with good intentions, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So ultimately, we just need to be more thoughtful about the processes within our organization, be more thoughtful about the tradition and the norms within our organization, challenge those things that need to be challenged. Just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean it's the way we need to continue to do it.
Right.
And if ever there was a time to do that, it's kind of this disruption that we've all felt over the past 18 plus months. We definitely need to continue those conversations and not get lulled back into the sense of, okay, things are getting back to normal. Finally, things are getting back to normal, and we don't have to be rethinking things anymore. No, I think this has shown us that we have to always be rethinking. We always need to be rethinking. We always need to be willing to pivot and adapt. And ultimately, if we want to be supportive, we have to do more. We have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk, and put our money where our mouth is in terms of resources, in terms of energy and time, and all of those sorts of things. And I love the idea of your theory of trickle down Mom-onomics. Yeah, put energy in resources and support into working mothers. Help them to know that they're supported and that you're genuinely there for them. Give them pathways, easy, accessible pathways,
right.
To take the needed leave and to re-enter the workforce without it disrupting their career, without disrupting the leadership pipeline of the organization. There's no reason why that needs to happen. It's an artifact. It's an artifact of a broken past, and we don't need to perpetuate it.
True. And becoming a mother makes you infinitely more resourceful. And we say it's the next level of leadership, motherhood. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Sarah, it has been a real pleasure talking with you. The time has flown by. We're getting close to the end of our time. But before we close today, I wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners a little bit more about Lumo, how to get connected with you, find out more about what you and your team do, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Yeah, so the best place to find us is lumoleadership.com. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. And we've got lots of amazing free resources for mom. We have a killer newsletter. There's a real opportunity for women to advocate for what they want and need, and to make requests and to make demands. And that was a lesson I learned really young in my career, actually at my first job. You never know unless you ask. So I always ask, because the worst thing that can happen is someone can say no. So ask for what you want and need.
Yeah, advocate for yourself, advocate for others around you. And the fact that you're speaking up about a need, chances are there are many other people that have the exact same thing but don't feel safe to speak up in the way that you're doing. So your willingness to speak up and be an advocate for yourself will by extension you're being an advocate for others around you. And for others like me, I'm a man, I'm part of this conversation, but clearly I need to help and assist and be an ally in breaking down the unhealthy systems and to rebuilding more appropriate systems and structures to be supportive of women. Anyone listening, this isn't just a women's issue. This is a us issue, and we all need to be a part of the solution, and we can do it. I truly believe that. We just have to put time and energy into it, be thoughtful about it. And if we do, we can truly leverage and utilize all of the human capital that we have within our organization. That's going to certainly help the individual team members to have more fulfilling jobs and careers, but it's also going to help the organization to maximize the human capital potential of the organization and have stronger, more dynamic teams, and to ultimately be more creative and innovative and more competitive in a hyper competitive globalized marketplace. Ultimately, we can do it. It's in our best interest to do it, and it's in the human interest that we take care of our people. So let's do it. Sarah, it has been a real pleasure. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected, find out more about what you and your team can do for them. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.
The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership. Ordinary, everyday actions that produce extraordinary results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life. Check out Human Capital Innovations magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine with the mission to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We publish issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Take a look at the latest issue and let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week.